All right, Sean, we're here on our second map, Steps of War. We just saw Machine defeat LZ. I keep wanting to say Team EG, but I'm not going to do it this entire cast. That's my goal, to not say Team EG and call him his correct name, LZ. But starting now on Steps of War, this map is new to StarCraft 2. It's a 1v1 map. I've played on it a lot. You've played on it a lot. What are your first impressions of this map?
Well, early expanding is going to be a lot riskier, but scouting is going to be a little bit easier as well. So the big mistake that we saw LZ do last game is he got 3 barracks with the tech lab, so he got way more Marauders than he needed to. And then even a small addition of Zerglings into Machine's composition just ran over that front so easily. So I'm pretty certain that LZ isn't going to make that same mistake this game, and even more so, he's not going to be expanding quite so early on. Probably going to be playing a slightly safer, slightly more aggressive game.
All right, now you do see, I was about to say Team EG, you do see LZ there as the green Terran at the 7 o'clock position, and at the 2 o'clock position you see Machine, the pink Zerg, his favorite color, that pink. We asked him what color he wanted to go with, and he said pink. That's not just a random color, so I guess we'll put that out there. We do see his Overlord kind of going across the map scouting. He's obviously not going to send that straight into the main base of LZ because those Marines will obviously take it down, putting him behind on supply. We do see pretty much usual supply depot going down at the ramp of LZ's base. So, I mean, do you think we're going to kind of see Machine do what we saw last game with that fast expand, or do you think he's just going to go with the safe one build Roach? Or one hatch Roach, I mean.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to open up one hatch Roach. Just in general, Machine likes getting that pool up relatively early, but I do think we might see a little bit of a delay on that hatchery. It's safe to expand somewhat early against Terran, and of course in Machine's base we do see that 14 pool going down and that 13 gas, same opening as last time. It's relatively safe to take that expansion early on. It doesn't quite die to Marine rushes. It's a little bit after that in the mid-game when there's a pretty big Marine Marauder push that makes that real dangerous, because as we see, the distances between these two bases are so short.
Right, and we do see pretty much the same thing we saw last game from LZ. They're getting the refinery down as the barracks is about to finish at his ramp. Probably see another supply depot here pretty soon. We haven't seen the orbital command. I think he usually gets that pretty soon. There it goes, now starting to upgrade on his command center, giving him the ability to spawn mules, which of course mine 3 times as fast as an SCV, and also give him that ComSat station so he can scan the Zerg player.
And we see that first SCV heading right out, going to be able to check up on Machine's base. Look at the timing of this SCV. It's going to be able to pop in right around the time that Roach Warren will be going down, but it might be a little bit too late. Those Zerglings do get that speed boost on the creep. All players love getting just one set of Zerglings, completely denies any scout, and it looks like Machine, instead of getting that fast Roach Warren, is expanding just like he did in Game 1.
So now he's waiting on that hatchery. I guess he's trying to get rid of that SCV. Oh, nope, there it goes. Hatchery going now down outside at his natural expansion. And we see another tech lab from LZ on that first barracks, now waiting for a second barracks to come down any moment. Now, last game we saw a double tech lab. Do you think we're going to see maybe a tech lab reactor opening from LZ this match?
I mean, I really hope to see so. I mean, those Marauders are so great against Roaches, but other than Roaches, the Marauders are really, you should think of them as a support unit. The Marines end up really doing most of the damage there, and with the stim, the Marines can just shoot so much faster. So I personally think that a faster reactor would be a lot better, and we do see LzGaMeR doing a little bit more of a one-base-oriented play. In the back of his main, we see an engineering bay going down, giving him that very fast +1 infantry weapon upgrade.
Now we do see a Roach Warren about halfway built in the back of Machine's base as he transfers over those 5 drones to the natural expansion. They're going to get there maybe a little bit early. You might have to hold them there at the expansion. Earlier in the match, right before his Roach Warren went up, he actually had a couple drones now sitting at the hatchery, and he lost the... Yep. Let's see if he stops those drones. Oh, he does pull them back, so good eye there, Machine. Now, looking back over in LZ's base, we see he has 2 Marauders. He does get a second tech lab instead of going for that reactor, so we might kind of see possibly the same exact game as we saw last.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see him do this opening. It looks like he's going for a little bit more. Oh, no, there's the command center right now. I mean, maybe I even just missed the engineering bay in Game 1, but... it looks like LZ's doing almost the identical play as he was doing last game, and it looks like Machine doing pretty much the same thing. I actually prefer what Machine is doing this game. You get a few roaches just to make sure no Hellions can get up your ramp, make sure you don't die to some sort of silly early Marine rush or something like that, and then you use your layer units, those Mutalisks, those Hydralisks, to really close down on the mid-game.
Yeah, we do see the Zergling speed is about to finish, so pretty much the exact same game as we saw with the Lair now about 50% done. Probably see, like he did last game, Hydras, although I don't even think he built any Hydras. He just rushed in with a ton of Zerglings there into Machine's base. So Machine, I don't think we're going to see as much aggression as we saw from him last, unless that's a common timing push. He does lower down a supply depot. I guess he's sending an SCV now to scout, not sending his forces. So we're just kind of waiting to see what these players are going to do, as Machine is now spawning a lot of roaches out of both of his hatcheries. And, I mean, pretty much the exact same game we saw last game.
But I mean, there's a lot of really interesting, subtle things that are going on. We see an SCV going right at the front, killing off, or the roaches kill it off. That is, of course, not the subtle thing. It's the fact that we're seeing that upgrade for the Zerglings, but no Zerglings get built. A lot of players get a little confused by that because they think, well, why are you upgrading something that you're not actually making? But it's for those emergency situations, like in last game when that big Marauder Marine push was coming up. You kind of say, oh crap, and you suddenly make a bunch of Zerglings that are super strong and allow you not just to hold, but to counterattack very quickly. So I really, really like this opening right now by Machine.
We see the Hydralisk Den about to be completed. Probably see some Hydras pretty soon. He's spawning a bunch of Zerglings now at his natural expansion hatchery. We might see a push from him pretty soon as he kind of does that Overlord puking, as you like to say, of the creep right outside of his base. Now he's going to destroy those destructible rocks. We might see another expansion coming down right outside of Machine's base, excuse me. We do see Overlord speed now being finished as well. So, I mean, I guess he's just going to start creeping across the map with that Overlord puke.
Yeah. The good old Overlord Vomit helps speed everywhere. And those creep tumors, one of my absolute favorite parts about StarCraft 2. Just like the fact that Zerg feels like they're everywhere all over the map at once, you know?
Yep. Now, we do see a Groove Spine. I'm actually not sure what that upgrade is, so I'm going to toss it to Sean, the StarCraft 2 veteran. What is that upgrade actually going to do for those Hydralisks? Is that going to be speed?
Yeah, I love that beta's been out for like 3-4 weeks now, and I am but a veteran, all right? That is the range upgrade for Hydralisks. Very, very helpful. Allows you to get a nice, big, fat concave around your units, and we see that expansion is going down by Machine right now. He's getting an Overseer, and look at this build that LZ is doing. Much, much more defensive than in last game. Has that Planetary Fortress up. Look at the positioning of these Marauders on the low ground and some on the high ground, making sure that he doesn't die to any sort of surround. He already has the 1-1 upgrades and is getting an armory so that way he can upgrade 2-1 for his Marines. That Overlord, unfortunately, got to see absolutely everything that LZ was doing, but that's still okay because what LZ is doing is a just straight-up solid build.
And we do see now another hatchery going down, almost actually done right outside. This is going to be Machine's second expansion now. He's going to be a little bit ahead of the economy once that goes down, and pretty much kind of just waiting it out. Terran's kind of waiting to see what the Zerg's going to do, I think. He hasn't actually been able to get inside the main base of the Zerg, so he's maybe a little bit guessing as to what he's doing, although, as you did say earlier, these two players have played quite a lot, so maybe he's expecting those Hydralisks.
Yeah, this Marine Marauder transition is just fantastic. I love how he's getting this reactor. He was even making some Marines out of the barracks to make sure his composition wasn't too skewed towards the Marauders, which are much, much less effective against those Hydralisks. Now getting 2 medevacs, might be pushing right after this. The armory just finished, so hopefully we're going to see some sort of +2, +1 upgrade coming up right now. And personally, if I had to say, I would probably give the advantage to Machine right now, just because Machine has that third base up and looks like he has the solid economy that he wants going.
We do see that Changeling now sitting inside of LZ's forces. That Changeling comes from the Overseer, and it basically morphs into a unit of the Terran, and he kind of hides it in his forces, although it's pretty easy to spot because you just see a unit kind of walking around not knowing why it's not under your control. But LZ is still not spotted yet. His Machine is doing a pretty good job making it look like one of his units. But of course, that is giving him a ton of information as to what LZ is up against. And we see Machine push out into the middle here, kind of puking more from those Overlords in the southern 6 o'clock position of those high yield expansion and also of the other expansion there behind those destructible rocks. So kind of interested to see what Machine is up to here as he's kind of just walking around in the middle, possibly getting ready for a push. He might just be waiting to see what LZ is going to actually do with his force as well.
Yeah, he's almost certainly biding his time, moving around, making sure that nothing goofy's going on. Sometimes players like to sneak medevacs around here. That changeling did give him a whole lot of information there. He's doing a great job of checking these expansions. And if we go back into Machine's main, he has +1/+1 upgrades for range. He has that infestation pit up. Looks like, ooh, yes, 2 infestors down. That fungal growth is just brutal against those Marine Marauder forces. So this is going to be real tough for Machine to attack, or excuse me, for LzGaMeR to attack right now.
We actually just saw the Infestors in a recent patch get a little bit nerfed from that neural parasite. Do you know the specifics about that at all?
Well, they changed it so it can't hit air units. That was a big issue because it would hit Ravens so easily. Pretty much just denied anything that would really be able to kill it. And now the fact that it can't target air, now Ravens can use those Hunter-Seeker missiles. I know that it also removed the time limit on it, so you have to be a little bit careful with your Thors getting in the way or something like that. But right now, I don't think that neural parasite's going to be too big of an issue because it's mainly small units out there right now for LzGaMeR. He's making a whole bunch of Marine Marauder, now adding on his 5th barracks, and he has 2 engineering base in the back of his base. Big attack coming up right now. Has to fall back. That is such a huge force by Marine, and if these Infestors get in there and fungal growth too many of those units, there is going to be no way that LZ can pull out of this.
Right, we did see a fungal growth going down on a couple Marauders there, and LZ suffered a little bit of loss. He also stim packs, so he's gonna those medevacs are gonna quickly be put to work there, healing up the rest of his forces. But I mean, we just see the Zerg right now. It looks like he's just dominating this entire map with Overlord's creep all over the place. All I see on my map right now is pink.
Yes, thanks to the festive color choice for Machine. Machine has another changeling going in there. Oh, target fires the Infestor, takes it out. Beautiful spread by LzGaMeR. These roaches are up at the top flank. Fungal growth on all those Marauders. These Hydralisks are just doing so much damage. He's trying to heal them, but these forces are rapidly evaporating for LzGaMeR. It looks like he'll have to pull back. And look, 12 more Hydralisks just seem to be hiding back in the main, coming into the fray, and with their little poison darts, take out everything that LZ has.
Now, I think right before that fight there, we saw the 1/1 upgrades finish for this Hydralisk. So how much do you think that factored into that fight? Do you think it pretty much won that entire fight for him?
I think Machine probably would have come out ahead just given his number of units, but that's what allowed him to end up with the number of Hydralisks that he had. Those Marines shoot very quickly, but just do a small amount of damage with each shot. 6 base damage. And with that carapace, if you have just 1 armor upgrade for the Hydralisks, I mean, immediately you're dropping the attack by like 1/6, which is pretty significant. But we do see that LZ is nowhere near dead right now. He still has 3 barracks with reactors pumping out tons of Marines, which are going to be much more effective against the Hydralisks than those Marauders. And we do see the 3/3 upgrades on the way for the Terran.
We also see a Spire about halfway complete now inside of Machine's base, so we might see the transition to Mutas and possibly to those Broodlords that...
Oh, yes.
I mean, is that a Tier 4 unit, Tier 3.5 unit? The unit is incredibly strong, and hopefully we'll see him in this matchup if Machine does not decide to end it and push here pretty soon. He's just massing his forces up there in the middle. He's now getting a 4th expansion at the high yield closest to LZ. So right now in this matchup, we just see Machine completely controlling the map.
Yeah, it looks like Machine's probably going to be transitioning to those Broodlords, which, as you say, people have been rapidly changing what like the tier tech levels mean. I'd probably just say it's like a tier 9 unit because it's all the way down in that bottom right corner of the larva menu. But yeah, he's going to be making those Broodlords, which have so much life, 275 life. They shoot Broodlings, which means with those Hydralisks, it's going to be very hard to penetrate into that center. And look, LZ moving forward with his 2/2 army, but I just do not think it will be enough.
And we see a huge fight now about to happen here in the middle. The stim pack can go inside. We just see those Hydralisks form a huge concave across the front of LZ's forces, and now he's possibly having to retreat. We see him completely wiped out there as those Marauders are just getting destroyed by the Zerglings and the Hydralisks. Now, still 1/1, just demolishing the Terran's forces.
Yeah, it's interesting because LZ's having fantastic macro, making sure all his barracks are constantly producing. We see that 3/3 is almost done. He did a very nice retreat job, loading up into his medevacs to pull back, but still, I just do not think it's going to be enough. The econ right now for Machine is just way too high. You know, it's kind of funny. Machine's actually letting his money get way higher than it should be. He's at over 2,000 minerals, but that Greater Spire is almost done, so he's going to be getting a bunch of Broodlords right now. He's been making Zerglings, so that way he can stockpile up on the gas. That high-yield mineral expansion is just now finished, and he's getting 2 more extractors, so that way he can have way more Broodlords than LZ can deal with.
Yeah, I think he's just waiting for those Broodlords to pop, like you said. Then we're just going to see him pretty much destroy LZ. We see LZ kind of pushing onto the map. He knows he needs to get into the action a little bit more. We see he now destroys those two changelings as he was being put into his forces. And also see some really smart play. We've seen Machine place those overlords now at pretty much every expansion, and that allows him to pretty much control those expansion because he drops the creep there, and LZ is not allowed to drop those command centers. But before I talk a little bit more about that, we see LZ now pushing against Machine's forces, and it looks like he's winning right now as the Zerg is kind of trapped right now with all the Zerglings behind. Now it's just going to be hydralisk on Marine Marauders with a couple roaches thrown in, but it looks like those 2/2 upgrades came in just in time, and we see Machine push back LZ now across the map with a couple more reinforcements, but I think he's not going to be able to hold off all those hydralisks there in the middle of the map.
Yeah, these Hydros are just doing so much damage, and if it weren't enough, if we go right outside the natural expansion of Marine, look at that. We have 7 Corruptors sitting right there, ready to morph into Broodlords whenever Machine manages to come back and do it.
There we go.
There they are. That is going to be almost impossible for LZ to hold off. And you know, honestly, I am really surprised that he managed to hold off that attack. And oh, look at this, a drop down at the bottom, but there's already so many Hydros heading in that direction. One medevac falls. This small force is going to go down immediately. This other medevac is also going to fall. Looks like Machine is rapidly on his way to being up 2-0.
Now, typically in the TVZ matchup, what do you usually see the Terran kind of transition into to combat those Hydralisks? Because it looks like those Hydralisks are just destroying that MM of LZ.
The biggest thing I would say is getting Ravens for those Hunter-Seeker missiles, which just do so much damage. First, it allows you to target those Infestors so well, and as we can even see in LZ's economy, he's broke on minerals, but look at that gas at 2,000. That would have been so well spent on some extra Ravens, and look at this, the Broodlords coming in right now. I mean, Machine's just going to get to walk right in there. LZ's going to see it and probably leave almost immediately, maybe put up a little bit of a fight, but there is no way he's going to hold this one off.
Yeah, I mean, those Broodlords just do a ton of damage, spawning those the Broodlings, as you were saying earlier, and pretty much, if you have the upgrades, they're pretty much identical to a Tier 1 Zergling, so they're just an incredibly strong unit. Now we see those fight right outside of LC's base with those Hydralisks just forming a perfect concave of and we see a GG as I stumble across those words, so that's going to be 2-0 now, Machine over Team EG in the second map. We're going to be going into the third map, Desert Oasis, with a 2-0 lead for Machine.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that Machine just did great that game is that he just played very defensively, and he knew when he was going to win the game. His goal was to get to those Broodlords and just to expand and use the Hydralisk army to get really big concaves in the middle to allow him to defend that high-yield minerals and to even set himself up for that 5th expansion. LZ was really put to the pressure because LZ had to move out, had to attack at these bad angles. But I do think that if instead of going for an extra barracks and getting all those additional Marines, if LzGaMeR had gone for Ravens instead, he would have had a much easier time dealing with those big, very clustered Hydralisk forces.
All right, so we are going to be right back with our third map, Desert Oasis.